I don't know why I gave it 3.5 stars. I guess I just was not feeling generous that day. Now, listen, I never expected to be attracted to a ghost. I started January very strong with 2 5-star reads. Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna be talking about my December and January reads. Obviously I read more than these books, but I read quite a lot of them on my Kindle. So first up, we've got The Housemaid's Secret by Freida McFadden. I'm pretty sure I gave it 3.5 stars. So it is the second book in the Housemaid series. And in the sequel, Millie, our protagonist Millie, takes yet another housemaid job for like a weird wealthy couple that is clearly like hiding something. There's obviously something off. Again, it does kind of remind me of the setup for the first book. But anyway, I flew through this book because the chapters are really short and the writing was very simple. And also the story was gripping enough that I just kept turning the pages. I think the like plot twists toward the end were like fun. I think they were both shocking and satisfying, even if they leaned a little dramatic. That being said, like I said, I feel like it feels like maybe a little too similar to the first book. And obviously, like the plot twist and everything in the end are different, but the story itself is so similar. It almost felt like I was reading the same book again, or at least like a very similar book. And then again, we got the protagonist who's extremely unlikable. I mean, I feel like in thrillers, you get unlikable characters very often. Now, I don't even, because I read the first book like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It's been a while. And I don't necessarily remember if I felt such strong antipathy for Millie when I was reading the first book. But in this book, she frustrated the hell out of me. It's like she's so naive at times and just makes decisions that make me go like, why? Girl, why? And the way she was treating her boyfriend didn't help me like her more. She's just generally such a shitty person. There was like this new character added, Enzo. Guys, I'm editing now and I googled it and it turns out Enzo did actually appear in the first book. I read it such a long time ago, I clearly forgot about it, so I'm really sorry. And now, even right now, when I hear the name Enzo, I always think of Enzo from the Vampire Diaries.
Well. Well, there's a blast from the past. Hello, gorgeous.
Pretty sure that was who I was imagining while reading it, and that might have made me like this character more, just because I love Enzo from the Vampire Diaries. Apart from the fact that I was associating him with one of my favorite TV show characters. In general, he was a nice addition. He was actually a nice addition to the book. He brought like a different energy, so I enjoyed him. Overall, what I thought about this book, it was fast, it was entertaining. I think it's perfect if you're in the mood for like a quick thriller that you can binge in like one day, probably. I just wish, the sequel felt a bit more original, maybe a little different from the first book. But still, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it, Maybe I could have given it 4 stars, maybe even. I don't know. I don't know why I gave it 3.5 stars. I guess I just was not feeling generous that day. Then we've got the second book. So obviously we're talking December reads. So I was reading some Christmassy books at the time. And I know it's February now. So who wants to hear about Christmas books? But, I'll talk about them anyway because they were actually pretty good. And maybe if you have not read them, you can add them to your TBR to read them next Christmas. The first book that I read was Good Spirits. And it talks about Harriet, who is assigned a little ghost of the Christmas past, who is supposed to help her work through her past memories, just so she can have like a reckoning with her life. Nolan, he does the same job every Christmas, but this year with Harriet, it feels different. Something is different, obviously, and it ends up completely changing his ghostly existence. Now, listen, I never expected to be attracted to a ghost, but I kind of was while reading this book. um, but let's talk about Harriet, the main character. So she is actually a big reason why I loved this book. Also, by the way, I ended up giving this book 5 stars, so you can tell I loved it very, very much. So Harriet, she has spent her entire life feeling as if like nobody really needs her or chooses her, you know. She tries her best to always do what people expect from her, but inside, she carries this quiet feeling of being overlooked. And I don't know, I just kind of related to her character. Just like her, I guess, her internal sadness and loneliness and people pleasing tendencies just made her such a relatable character that I was really, really rooting for. And I also loved seeing her character grow and develop and like learn how to stand up for herself and everything. I obviously also loved the romance. I loved the dynamic between Harriet and Nolan. So Nolan is the name of the ghost. They were so sweet together and their banter was really entertaining. I feel like Nolan being a ghost just like adds so much humor and charm, but there's also this like tenderness to their connection that slowly builds. It is definitely like a slow burn type of romance. I also really love the atmosphere of this book, the Christmassy atmosphere. It's full of like little sensory details that made everything feel festive and cozy. And you know, the magic made the story so much more interesting than if it had just been two normal people having just a regular Christmas romance. Like, I feel like the paranormal aspect really made that book so special, at least to me, you know. Some people might not like paranormal romances, and that's okay, but I loved it. Overall, it was cozy, magical, emotional, and funny, and it really stuck with me. I definitely will want to reread it one day. Basically, it's just a story about two lonely people, because Nolan is also like very lonely. Obviously, he's a ghost, he doesn't really have anyone. So it's about two lonely people finding their way toward each other in the middle of Christmas madness. And I read one more Christmassy book, which is The Most Wonderful Time of the Year. Oh, actually, I have a physical copy with me. But I am obsessed with this cover. It's really nicely designed. So, The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. The main characters, Maggie and Ethan, are like kind of rival authors, mystery authors, and they are invited to the manor of one of Maggie's favorite authors. But the author suddenly goes missing. So it just turns into this like classic setup of like everyone's stuck together and we have this mystery to solve type of situation. And it was just such a fun read. One of the biggest strengths of this book for me was just how easy it was to read. The chapters are really short, so I just really flew through it. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars, just for reference. And the mystery itself isn't super complex or intricate, but it was entertaining enough to keep me curious and constantly turning the pages. My favorite part was undoubtedly Ethan and Maggie's dynamic. They start out as rivals who don't necessarily like each other, which leads to a lot of witty banter and chemistry. Their interactions were like genuinely fun to read. I feel like the dialogue in this book is like a huge highlight, but you know, definitely don't expect like, you know, a deep type of romance. I definitely felt like it moved a little bit too fast for my personal taste, but it is a very short book, so that is probably why. It's just a cheerful, festive, and bingeable holiday read. So like I said, yeah, if you want something that's not very deep or serious, but still like very fun to read, and the characters have lots of chemistry, then definitely I can recommend it. And the last book I read in December was this one, Where the Dark Stands Still. How can I explain the plot? We've got this girl who has some strange powers, and she really wants to get rid of them. So she flees to the forest in order to like find something to help her get rid of these powers. And there she meets this guardian of the woods named the Lesche, and he strikes a deal with her. He's like, I will get rid of your powers, but you have to come and live with me for 1 year. So that's what she agrees to, basically. I had a really good time reading this, especially as a Polish person, because it was written, I believe, by like a Polish Canadian author. When I was checking it, I think the original was written in English, because I thought maybe she wrote the original in Polish with how many Polish words were there, but pretty sure it was written in English. But yeah, like I said, it does contain a lot of like Polish words and a lot of like elements of Polish culture. And it also has lots of like Polish mythology weaved into it. So yeah, it definitely made it like very special to me. Anyway, I think that the setting was very immersive with magical forests, creepy monsters, and a sentient manor. The writing is also beautiful and lyrical. It was really just such an atmospheric read. I also liked the main character. Her name is Liska. And I also liked her dynamic with the guardian of the woods and also some of the other side characters. There was this like house spirit, which was one of my favorite parts of the book, actually. I ended up giving it 4 stars, so was not a 5-star read, and let me tell you why. I did think that the pacing dragged a little bit in places, and sometimes the magic system felt a little bit underexplained. And we've also got the ending, which I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I would say I didn't like it that much, but anyway, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not gonna talk in much detail, but I was not the biggest fan of the ending. But apart from that, I still think that it was a very well written book, and I still can recommend it. Okay, so these were all the books that I read in December, and now let's move on to my January reads. Okay, so I started January very strong with 2 5-star reads. The first one is, I finally read it, guys. I finally read it, and this book destroyed me. It's Sunrise on the Reaping. So, yes, probably everyone knows already. It is the new Hunger Games book in which we learn Haymitch's backstory during the 50th Hunger Games. I'm still so unwell, and I'm still like, I feel my heart breaking even now when I think about this book. It's truly devastating. Like, I've read many heartbreaking books, but this one, like, in particular, left me feeling so heavy and sad. It's honestly even hard to describe. I was truly devastated. I just feel like my heart aches for Haymitch and everyone who suffered in this book. And trust me, a lot of people suffered. I definitely enjoyed gaining like insight into Haymitch's backstory. It made me feel closer to him as a character, and it helped me understand him more, especially when thinking about the original trilogy. Like, you can see all the little threads of who he becomes, and it's honestly tragic. There was this one detail that really, like, I don't know why, but it just really stood out to me. Was before the game started, he was doing a job of like illegally making alcohol, But he said like he's not really big on drinking himself. He doesn't really drink. And after the games, we know how that went. He went full on alcoholic. Just sounds tragic. I mean, that's how everything he went through broke him. The book itself, it moved at a very compelling pace. I've never felt bored or anything like that. I feel like it just really expands the original lore in a way that actually adds something. It doesn't feel like it's some sort of filler. It doesn't feel like it's unnecessary. So Suzanne Collins, I both thank you and hate you for writing this. I thank you because of how good this book is, and I hate you because of how sad it is and how it destroyed me emotionally. So, well, after reading The Stars on the Reaping, I felt like I want to reread the original trilogy. So that's what I did, and I went on and started reading The Hunger Games, which this is a 5-star read, and the previous book is also a 5-star read. So I really started 2026 strong. I was obviously rereading this book. I first read The Hunger Games, I guess like over 10 years ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I don't, just rereading it now, it felt to me like I was reading a modern classic of some sorts. I think the writing is like very simple and easy to read, but at the same time, it's like the story itself, it's obviously extremely gripping and it's actually pretty heavy in meaning. Definitely like the social and political commentary is what makes this book so timeless. The themes around inequality, propaganda, and how easy it is for people to become desensitized to human suffering feel like they'll always be relevant. So when I was rereading this book, it honestly felt just as uncomfortable and impactful as it did when I was first reading it. If not more, because, you know, I'm a little older now, so I feel like I'm more like understanding of certain things. And Katniss as a protagonist, in a way, stands out more to me now than she did when I was younger. She's not like some sort of chosen one or like the typical selfless YA protagonist. She's guarded, pragmatic, and just like focused on protecting her family above everything else. And surprisingly, I didn't always like her. I remember this one small detail. It was mentioned at the beginning of the book, and I honestly completely forgot that something like this was mentioned. She was talking about her sister's cat, and when the sister first brought the cat home, Katniss tried to drown the cat, and I was like, what? I don't know, maybe I'm just too sensitive to animal cruelty. But, well, she did not drown it, and they are, like, getting along well now, so don't worry about that. But I was just shocked by this statement, you know? It just shows you, like, you know, how... she's not necessarily cruel, but... yeah, she definitely has an interesting personality, Katniss. I'm definitely more like her sister, kind of like... you know, soft and like very sensitive and stuff. So I identify with her sister a lot more. But I do love Peeta, so I feel like he's very like emotionally intelligent, thoughtful, and just soft in a way that really balances Katniss out. So I've always been Team Peeta, and rereading this book really confirmed that. I just feel like he fits Katniss better. I don't know, I love them together so much. So overall, I feel like it's still one of the most solid YA books out there, and it definitely deserves to be praised even after all these years. Okay, then I read People We Meet on Vacation. So I was reading it because I want to watch the movie that's out on Netflix. I have not watched it yet, but I still want to because the movie sounds very promising. But the book, I was kind of disappointed by this book. I ended up giving like 2.5 stars. The plot is basically that we've got these two best friends who vacation together every year until they don't. And, you know, they're now they're like kind of trying to fix what was broken between them. It was like about 400 pages, but I didn't know that a romance could feel this long or feel so exhausting to read. It wasn't a bad book by any means. I can see why so many people loved it, but I just feel like it was not for me. I was honestly bored for a good portion of it, and I really wanted to DNF it. I'm starting to think that maybe friends to lovers trope is not for me. I guess when the characters are acting almost like a couple for most of the book while refusing to acknowledge that there's something between them, I just tend to feel bored and lose interest. I don't feel the chemistry that much because they are almost already acting like a couple, and I'm like, just date each other. Oh my god. And also, a lot of the story is basically just Alex and Poppy traveling together, hanging out, and enjoying each other's company, which is cute at first, but after a while, it started to feel repetitive. Actually, this setup might work a little better in a movie because obviously, a movie is a lot shorter than an actual book. So that's why I think I might still enjoy the movie. Let me know if you've watched it. Anyway, I definitely have enjoyed other Emily Henry books more. My favorite one is Funny Story. I mean, I've read like 4 books by her, but this is the one that I enjoyed the least. Okay, and then the last book I read, I'll just talk about it very quickly because I feel like it's not gonna be interesting to most people, but it was a nonfiction book called Be Right Back. It's basically a nonfiction book about dog training for owners who have a dog that is dealing with separation anxiety, which is what I'm currently experiencing with my dog. Hello, baby. She's always like next to me. Probably because she's a rescue, so she feels like really attached to me. Okay. Mommy is making a video now, so go and sit in your bed. She's a rescue, so I don't know, I guess she just feels maybe scared to be left alone. I don't know, she has quite a severe anxiety, by the way. But if you are struggling with such an issue, or you know someone who is struggling, I would not recommend this book. I feel like I'm not saying that advice was bad necessarily, but I just feel like it was not worth an entire book. You can watch a few minutes video and it's going to tell you the same thing. I feel like this book is just overly general and very repetitive. I definitely wish the author would have gone a lot deeper into the training itself. I feel like it was not really explained that well. So that was definitely a shame because that was something that I was really anticipating. There's a lot of like talk about motivation and theory, but not much in the way of like concrete step-by-step guidance. So I definitely do not recommend this book. So these are all the books. I also, in January, I started reading Jane Eyre, but because it is a classic and it is quite long, I was not able to finish it. So I will talk about it in the next month's wrap up. But yeah, these are all the books that I read. If I were to choose my favorite one, probably Sunrise on the Reaping, I guess. Yeah, I think that one was the most like memorable to me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you're interested in more videos like this, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would really appreciate it. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.